The orders from Lord Hightower has been very much just do nothing, just go home, just leave, go home, and sow your fields and such.
Brew strong.
So there's not really anyone here except for you. So you're the ones he's gathering. Alaric would know that it is natural for Longthorn to take counsel with his knights, basically the knights of Highgarden that are present, or any knights that he favor. He will bring to his councils, and then sort of let them basically hear what they have to say. Generally, he will wait to the end when everyone has had their say, or the ones who will speak have had their say, to say what his opinion is, as to not just have people who sort of just a yes say whatever he says.
No,
He
yes,
doesn't
man.
want people who just agrees. Yeah, yes, man.
So this is quite a big honor then.
Yeah, it is quite the big honor, really. Ashra Terrell, Alaric would know, has been here before. Eden Riceley has as well. But for the rest of you, this is probably new.
Yeah, quite a big step.
Yeah. As you'll be gathered in, there's wine and sort of a few servants will walk back and forth and deliver you whatever you really require. It is not the great hall as it might usually be. Perhaps he did not want to have a huge meeting about this sort of thing right now, or perhaps he just didn't. I mean, for some reason, he chose a bit of a more remote location with a meeting table and such, sitting down, not sitting at the high table with you on the bottom, but instead sitting around a table. She looks at you. He is now dressed in a fight suit, not his own, perhaps, ceremonial plate, but certainly a Tyrell plate, and it is graceful on him. The gold embroidery of like the golden roses climbing up his body, just like before he was a beautiful man, and that was when he had been prisoner and sailing and sick, and now he's outright just like an angel, gorgeous in the way of his behaving and his movement, incredibly graceful. It certainly is no surprise when you see him like this that the small folk have just fallen in love with him. Like generally, their lord they speak of all these dark secrets that they have and how depraved their lords really are. Not with the Longthorn. They seem to have no fault for him really. Which is potentially what makes him so spectacular in this age. He's a man who will never be forgot, even if he didn't really do anything. So you'll sit down around the table and say, I hope you have all recovered from our ordeal. As he looks to each of you, just making sure that no one is... Good. I've brought you here to hear your counsel. There is much that we must do, and I do intend to join this civil war that the Reach has, until this point, been a spectator in. About a fourth of our lands, of our bannermen, have already declared for the Blackfire, but I do not intend to follow their example. We fought for the honor of the king, and we won. The gods has shown us that the claims of the Blackfire are nothing but lies. If they were not, then surely he would not have declared war, but simply proved the evidence, presented it, and shown us all the truth. I intend to call upon a host here at Highgarden. I will call all my loyal men to come here. She leans back and sort of, Ashra puts a map on the table of the Reach. And perhaps it is easier if you go to the overview map to understand what is what's going on here. Let's see here. I'll use some colors here to show. What color is good? I guess blue. There's no blue yet. Yes. as he basically shows, there are a few enemies currently facing us. A host have gathered at Golden Grove, and the newest news is that Dragonstone has been taken, and that host has landed by Duskendale. Another host has landed by the Kingswood and gone around to the Rose Road, blocking trade to King's Landing, stopping us from delivering food to the combined armies of the Crown Lands and the Stormlands. We know another army is at River Run. A third is keeping the Knights of the Reach out of supporting. The Knights badly disposed to moving over the forts at the Trident. As you look, we have our force at Highgarden. What is expected now is that they will attempt to take the one thing that really matters any longer in this war, King's Landing. The man who sits on the throne will be the king. A king who cannot hold the throne will not be recognized. The army there is massive, but it cannot move, for should it move either north or south, it would leave the city exposed to the other of the two armies. If he moves north, then the army from the south will take the city. If he moves south, then the army from the north will take the city. What will likely happen now is that the force from Golden Grove will continue to Bitter Bridge, where they will meet up with the southern forces. If they can take Bitter Bridge, then no more of the food from all of the Reach will be able to get to King's Landing. In King's Landing, there is an army, the greatest army on our side of this war, except for our own. If it goes without food from the Reach for too long, then the men there will starve and they will be forced to move out. They will be forced to abandon the capital. Potentially, they might move north to Harrenhal, trying to link up with the Knights of the Vale, but the Vale would not be able to feed such an army either. If Bitterbridge falls, then this war is likely lost. Let's see, as he leans back, says, how would you suppose or suggest that we proceed?
How big is the force at Golden Grove?
The force at Golden Grove is about a fourth of what we will be able to gather here. It is a small force relative to our own, but it is ready to move now, and ours is not. If we were to gather only the most necessary men of around Highgarden, we would have about the same number. If you were to wait a little longer, then we would have more than them.
I pose another problem. Before we came on this expedition, I was away in the Red Mountains, dealing with what they call themselves the Vultures. And I received a letter upon arrival that Lord Caladan has mustered a force to fight back the forces from the Red Mountains. If their large army, which consists of many of the the Dornish mountain families, they may be able to push through and break straight into the underbelly of the Reach. I would suggest sending at least a small contingent to go and secure the Prince's Pass. I'm afraid the marches may not have enough men. Past that,
Given
Go on.
nods. It says, I would agree with Salaric. The force in the mountains are very well equipped and highly motivated from what we've seen. They can wreak havoc through the marshes, and well, it needs to be reinforced. It's just that's how it is, as I see it.
Alaric nods and says, if the Prince's Pass is taken by Blackfire forces, or in fact even an independent force, then a High Garden would be vulnerable if we left with the full army.
Besides, the rebellious Dornish lords are more or less surrounded. They're squashed between the Martells and the martial lords. They can't get anywhere. They're trying to break through the marshes. If we can stop them there, then we will have them completely contained, nullifying that advantage.
The problem is that we'll have to travel through the Prince's Pass or the Bone Way in order to stop them fully.
We do have one
No,
thing.
we can just cork it. Put a cork into the largest passageways and start actually securing our lands. And I mean, that should probably not nullify all of the raiders, but they should make it way more difficult for them to do actually anything, right? If they can't move a force through the Prince's Pass or the Bone Way, then they can't really support their side in the war. They're alone in the mountains.
They are also overstretching to the Tor, I believe. I do not know if they have succeeded in the besiegement or if it is ongoing.
That is...
We have learned so far nothing new about Dawn.
Then that is also so far away that we couldn't possibly do anything about it. We need to...
What I'm saying is
we need
they're
to take
overstretched.
charge over... Sure. We need to take charge of the lands that we just want to protect, yes?
Yes. They've attacked the Prince's Pass and an engagement has already occurred. But that was 3 weeks ago. They could be at Night Song already. And in which case, that poses a great threat. Lord Karen doesn't have the largest force and the marches may not have gathered enough.
Does the Bitterbridge have any actual defenses?
The bridge is the... This is Ashra talking. The bridge is the strongest defensive bridge over the Manda. It allows large forces to move past. It could last if it was well garrisoned, but it is not a rich place. We do not toll the bridge, and as such, it is not rich land.
I would then suggest...
Against an army from across the sea, an army of what we hear is thousands of mercenaries from the free cities, professional warriors, I do not think they could last that long.
I would suggest that we gather our force, send a small contingent down to Night Song or Hillstead. What was that? Sorry. Okay. Millstead Hall. The rest of the army moves up to Bitterbridge and holds it. Then once we deal with the other armies, we move on.
Where is the rebellion getting their food from? I mean, the large armies in enemy territory around King's Landing, surely their supply lines must be thin as well.
They are getting their food from across the sea. They have the support of the free cities and the large amounts of trade that they bring. As long as they control the sea, they can bring large amounts of goods across it. Now that they've taken Dragonstone, forced the royalists to flee, the sea is theirs, the narrow sea is theirs. This is also what prevents the forces of Dawn to fight much against their own rebellion. They cannot move far from Sunspear, or a force could land there and take it unopposed. Our fleets were the fleet at Dragonstone, but unsupported it has sadly crumbled. Ships are protecting the Vale of Arran from the north. White Harbor has delivered some, and it does not seem that the Vale of Arran is a huge threat, seemingly, to the Blackfire. It is not a good place to land, and they do. The North does keep the pirates away from that region. We have had no words of what the Iron Islanders are doing, like they will just try to sit this out as they always do.
And the Northmen?
The Northmen don't have many ships. The ones they have are either protecting their shores from Islanders on the western side, or defending the Vale of Arran on the eastern.
Well,
We have the largest fleet remaining. We have the Arbor and the fleets of Old Town, Three Towers, and Black Crown still. The Shield Isles have declared for the Blackfire. Them and the forces of Lannisport, however, are still inferior compared to the fleet we could gather from the Arbor. The Red Wine fleet is the greatest in the land, so to speak. We could sail north to remove the Shield Isles and protect Highgarden and the inner parts of the Reach from attacks coming from the west, so they cannot simply sail in and attack us in our heartland. Or we could gather fleets and send them across the sea to the Narrow Sea to defend Dawn and the Stormlands, cutting off potential supply lines and allowing the Martells to move. That would, however, expose our own lands to our enemies, and I'm not sure Lord Redwine would approve of such action. Not that would stop him.
Looking at the map, I don't know. It seems the trouble of Sunspear is, in a way, their own to fix. Getting some pressure off our backs is probably
You get a lot of
ideal.
nods about that from around the table.
We can't really get to Sunspear anyway. It's not an option for us.
It's getting some pressure off our backs is probably a good idea, but it seems to me then that the most important, the clutch is Bitterbridge, and everything should be concentrated into securing and taking that.
There's also something to be said that the Westerlands are wide open currently.
We could, of course, backstab the Westerlands, yes, and rampage our way up. We might even be able to threaten Lannisport.
That would take the pressure off the Vale and King's Landing, probably.
But
It wouldn't
Bitterbridge
take
is
anything off of King's Landing,
Yes.
because there's two armies there, so nothing will come off of there. That's our real issue.
Yes, but if it takes pressure of the Vale, then they can ride south to help out King's Landing. That was my point.
It'll take
If
a
that
lot
works,
to...
though, it seems from what we know that Bittersteel is leading that front, and I don't think Bittersteel necessarily would care.
The forces of the west might withdraw from River Run, or simply attempt to storm it and have losses in the attempt. They might succeed, however, which would bring the Defiance in the Riverlands down. The Lustons have, as we can see, gathered a large force around the God's Eye and are fighting indeed, with the Bittersteel as their commander.
I think we need to secure our supply lines before we try anything else.
The problem is if they take Bitterbridge, it will be quite hard to take back.
That's what I mean.
Take a long time.
Yeah. An army runs on its stomach, and without a supply line, it withers. Bitterbridge must be our first point of call. Our soft
Won't the road
underbelly.
still be cut off, though?
After first securing Night Song and then Bitterbridge.
Yes. Our underbelly and our supply lines need to be secured. So the Prince's Pass and Bitterbridge.
How does it look over in Night Song? What are the numbers of the opposing forces?
We don't know.
We don't. It's probably.
Ashraf shakes it. We have had a call to arms. 2 of them, in fact. Lord Hightower has not responded to any of them. They do not pose numbers. They are likely unknown.
But
From
if it's
when-
2 call to arms, it's probably dire.
From when we were in the Red Mountains, it was a large force made out of men from Blackmont and Kingsgrave, and many more.
Eden wisely looks at him and says, couldn't we send Lord Peake to deal with it? He has strong forces, and he is right in our backyard. If we moved north,
Alaric just laughs.
I would feel much better having him at doing something else. He is so far undeclared, but
Peak.
I would go so far as to say that he's untrustworthy.
Alaric,
To Alaric.
Alaric says, from what I remember, no more than 6 months ago, we at House Caladan learned that indeed Peake had some affiliation with the Blackfire. The fact that he is not Lord of the Marches probably means he doesn't want to declare. But he may show his true colours if we do press him on such matters. If he can have control of an army. A man I know is in the books, in the good books of Blackfire. I would not trust. I would rather trust Lord Karen, or indeed Lord Caladan.
Mansa taps the map and says, if Nightsong falls, then Lord Peake will be forced to fight, because his lands will be the next.
That's if it is. That's if the enemy force threaten him. If he declares for Blackfire when they arrive, they may just go past him.
He would likely delight in seeing Karen being smashed.
And then delight in seeing Caladan burn too. He gets too much gain from siding with Blackfire. The chances would be...
Seems we have 2 things we can do then. The fleet can also be sent in 2 different directions.
The Shield Isles would be my likely suggestion, though naval warfare is not my strong suit.
Yeah, my opinion would be send these ships where we just came, the Shield Isles. From what I've been told, then there needs to be a force guarding Highgarden there.
I don't think Highgarden is the target. Most of the main enemy forces are up north or in the middle of the Westlands fighting it out. I don't think they have much to threaten Highgarden, honestly.
The target is definitely King's Landing.
Yes.
Yes, but capturing the Shield
Ashra.
Islands will secure it.
Ashra leans forward. We must remember that the Iron Islanders have not yet declared. Perhaps if they saw Highgarden being wide open, they would do so and sail up the Manda to plunder and reap all the riches of the Inner Reach. If they were to sack every undefended castle along the Manda, he just stops there.
We cannot have that.
Although, if our fleet were to engage the Lannister fleet, they might see their opportunity and join our side to raid King's Land or raid Lannisport.
Lannisport are
No, it's-
more ancient enemies to the Iron Isles than the Reach, I think. And the biggest threat to Highgarden will come from the south. I am convinced.
I
If we
believe
want to
that-
protect Highgarden, we want to reinforce the marshes.
So
That's
it
what we
seems that
said.
our fleet then should go take the Shield Isles back, diminishing the opponent's fleet before they can connect with one another to oppose us. Then the question is of our land forces. We can either gather every man we can, making a grand host as we've done before. That will, however, take time, and I suppose that neither of our fronts would develop in our favor from waiting further. We would, however, have a magnificent force at the end of such a muster. We could muster the houses that are near us and simply raise whatever levies we can in a hurry, and then potentially have enough men to drive either of these witches away. I think we could slay all these vultures rather easily, or while the battle at Bitter Bridge would be quite something, I'm sure.
How many men do we have at this very moment?
Jesus, the muster has barely begun. Highgarden itself can probably, and the surrounding lands can probably call up a few thousand.
If we leave for Night Song with that as soon as possible, that might be enough with the forces of the marshes to defeat the vultures there.
That would be more than enough, but the problem would be Bitterbridge.
Yes.
We can't.
We
cannot
have to
let that
wait and gather a host of small folk to travel north.
We probably
Without the
can't take
core of knights of Highgarden, it would be difficult. Our traditional tactics, at least, rely heavily on our strong cavalry forces.
Yes. The idea
Seems
would be
to me that given the type of troops we have, it seems more beneficial to me to send forces that are not entirely reliant on horseback and charges on open fields to Night Song. That won't help much there, I think. Rather, sending bowmen, skirmishers, and similar troops would probably help much better and keep the knights for the open fields of the Reach.
Exactly.
could then try to catch the force from Golden Grove off guard on their way to Bitterbridge. With the knights.
I would suggest getting the main force that we have from the surrounding lords, heading north to Bitterbridge, and sending small folk to Nightsong or Millstead Hall.
We can certainly send supplies there.
I think they need men.
Small
more than
folk
supplies.
we can bring as well.
We need.
We can raise levies rather easily.
The levies will hold enough force to be able to hold back. It's a small area and we can hold it
It
well
is
enough.
perhaps not what Lord Karen had hoped for, but then again, it is their duty to protect the marshes. It is what they have their privileges for.
We have a harder target to press in the north, and the cavalry will do better in the fields.
Eden wisely nods.
However, taking the bridge with only cavalry would be difficult, I feel.
We'll have
Won't
knights.
be only cavalry, but knights. Yeah,
Well, they
yes,
can just
the knights of the
dismount.
Reach. The
We
knights of
will
the Reach.
Bring the forces of Horn Hill, Cider Hall, and Long Table on the way.
We wouldn't need to even take Bitterbridge if we still have it. That's what I'm like. If we leave quick enough, we won't even need to take it, and then we can meet the enemy in the field where we're the strongest.
Or be surrounded from both Golden Grove and whatever.
Yes, that
army.
is the risk there.
And in which case,
It would be better to
we
take
have the
out the
supply
force
now.
from Golden Grove before reaching Bitterbridge.
I agree. If we can hit the force from Golden Grove before they reach Bitterbridge, that would be good.
Otherwise, they will attack us from both sides, and
We would have
with
to
chaos.
leave almost immediately, and we
Yeah.
would be in much similar numbers.
We should leave later and take them in the siege.
Do we
They
know
will need
who
to
is-
siege Bitterbridge from both sides.
Yeah, we could take one
know
side.
who commands the force in Golden Grove?
Yes. We do. It is the Rowans, the Florents, and the Oakharts.
And are they known for their battlefield prowess?
So Asher scoffs a little bit, but Eden basically says they are known well enough, though they have certainly... they are no Tarleys.
Nods. Or Caladans. Look,
Yeah. Alaric thinks that to himself. I can take any
because
host of them.
a force with similar numbers then would probably be reliant on the commander's skill to actually maneuver them. And I think in that case we probably have the better commanders. I mean, I don't know the stats for Leo in like warfare, but I don't think it's bad.
Probably not bad.
The council here nods, sort of agreeing to that. It seems then that the question is not of where to go, but of how fast to go north.
If we could get a night's march on them, we might catch them by surprise.
They can't just take Bitterbridge overnight. We can take them
No,
while
it'll
they're
take
besieging.
days.
So taking a couple of days to gather our forces won't be a hindrance. In fact, it may be our grace. And we can take them while they're besieging. They're not going to be able to take it quickly. They need to build equipment.
Depends when the other force from the east gets there.
They
will have to siege the other side. There's no way across without taking the bridge.
Yes.
So we can take.
But the forces there
smash
would
through
be
them.
hard pressed.
Yes. They will.
Give me a large enough army, and the enemy force with a wall behind them, and I'll crush them.
They would have nowhere to flee except into the water.
So, Alaric, you might be needed in the marshes, though.
Alaric's happy to fight anywhere.
We have Lord Karen, and he is certainly a skilled battlefield commander, but you are Lord of the Marsh.
I mean, if we just get beheaded by the Black Bar, I'm just saying. Okay.
But
How
but
long
you are.
how long do we assess the bridge will actually hold if attacked on both sides?
We don't know. It is a force of mercenaries from the free cities. Their skills and uses of siege weapons is not something we have faced before.
But I have. Or I have seen them.
You have somewhat. You know, at least, but you've more faced people of the force that is now up here by Dragonstone, the veterans of the Blackfire, and they certainly were very, very effective at what they did. They are veteran soldiers, all of them. While the army down here is more a collection of mercenaries from Lice, Marine, and especially Valentis, being the largest of the three.
I have seen some of those forces, though. I might know what they're made up of.
Yes, they are the kind of people who would bring like elephants and like people with fire throwers and all those sorts of weird things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take
There
like
will
the scenes from 300 where you see like the weird people fighting. That's the kind of things you would expect there. All sorts of strange Essos things. Because Valensis doesn't necessarily train them themselves. They just sort of hire the people who have a reputation around the continent. So they might be some ragtag group of all sorts of strange things.
Thankfully, iron doors tend to do very well against fire. So.
Yeah. But you could probably rip them down with the elephants, maybe. If they're like battle trained enough.
So
he will certainly share that information about what they're probably made up of.
Just makes people frown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is always better, I feel. At least in the corners.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pansy army.
And then a couple of days would probably be all we have.
Interesting. I think at least half a month. Once they reach there.
Oh yeah, shit. That's true. They still have to get. Yeah.
There'll be some time before they reach that spot.
We also have to get there.
An army doesn't travel fast.
We need to get there before they get there.
If you can leave immediately then with the knights we have for Night Song, try to take out that army fast and then return to join the rest of the army and attack Bitterbridge. That might be something we could do.
We don't know the army if it's at Night Song or is it, what's it doing right now?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Didn't we know that?
Was the Call to Arms to Night Song or Millstead Hall?
Millstead Hall.
Yes, but didn't the letter say that they have besieged Night Song or something like that?
No.
We don't know.
Think that they will. That's the thing.
Okay.
Incursions, basically.
Yeah, incursions have happened in the Prince's Pass. So.
I don't know. It seems to me the first order of business is definitely to look to our own backyard because we're sworn to protect the marches and we need to look at as characters and as players. I think it's our duty to take a look at that at least.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
Be like-
perhaps it's getting late. Perhaps it's time to close the discussion and say, what do you want to do as players, and where do you want to go, and what do you want to have happen here? Because conveniently, the Longthorn has been quiet most of this time, and he's thinking things, and maybe your wishes are slightly relevant to what he's been thinking, at least.
I would say south and then north.
Not going to miss the big battle a bit.
I don't even remotely care about the South.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I think we need to at least take a look and help plug some holes in the south. It's like kind of what we're sworn to do, and then maybe we can look elsewhere after that.
You
Personally,
Knights of Highgarden.
True, we're sworn to protect Highgarden.
well,
It's real.
yeah, but I mean,
Alaric is the
kind of the Lord
commander
Commander
of
of like the.
I'm the commander of
Yes,
the marches.
yes.
I want to protect that.
Either
Yeah, like it's
I-
supposed
we would-
we free,
I-
they don't. Not really
yeah, I mean, yes,
friendly.
we could be like, oh, let's split the party.
Yeah, that
No.
would be terrible.
I don't think that's what anyone of us is saying.
No.
But
Yes, the question is if we want to go north. Or
Personally-
south most.
personally, I would want to find Bloodraven and go with him because that was also an option before, and that seemed kind of awesome.
There's no real indication of where he's flown off to, though.
Yes, if
Well,
It's
actually,
pretty
if you
so-
inquire about what we know about him, Asher will say that an order has been put out by the Crown Prince, saying that he has disappeared and that he is to be counted a deserter and brought to, King's Landing or Summer Hall if found.
See, that just makes me even more curious.
Yeah, I would say we plug up the Prince's Pass basically, and then head off to Bitterbridge. And I don't want to miss either of those fights really. It's glorious.
If you go to fight at Nightsong, it is unlikely that you'll have time to go there, win that war, and then continue north to deal with the rest. Bitterbridge will probably have fallen at that point, and you might come there facing the siege of Bitterbridge, at least if you could call it that, by united force, defending the bridge.
Then in which case I would say we'd have
Wait,
to send the forces to Bitterbridge and send whatever we have to muster to Nightsong. And then I guess Alaric and the party go to Nightsong. I don't know. Alaric would definitely want to go to Nightsong.
It's the question of defending home versus, potentially shifting the war.
Both sides can shift the war, really.
It's true, but Bitterbridge is noted as a very important spot because if King's Landing falls,
I mean,
Yeah. But if
Bitterbridge is
Highgarden
more
falls, then
Bitterbridge is more interesting than Nightsong, definitely. I mean, yes.
That might also be. I mean, you could, if you think that, then maybe Lord Longthorn would ask Alaric to go with him to Bitterbridge, because he values his input in this.
But at the same time, I just don't want to leave the marches to burn.
But they're not being left to burn.
They are
Yeah,
though. I mean, according to that message, it seems we are incredibly hard.
just
pressed.
because the
Hello?
oh, can I go by
Do you
back?
go out?
Yeah. I would say that we're not leaving them to burn. We can send a force up to Bitterbridge now, and still send peasants to Nightsong.
Yeah, well, because one of the things is